and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Stuart Booth.
Jack Luffman.
I was just talking, just before we came on air, about Jack needing a costume for
That's
Halloween.
That's the worst time in that.
And I think that you don't need a costume, Jack.
Thanks, Stu. Is that because I'm beautiful as it is?
That's
the idea of Halloween, isn't it?
That's the exact reason, yeah. Is that what your mum and dad told you?
Yeah. In fact, somebody said I've not got a costume. She said maybe Stu's got one in his closet or something.
I've got plenty of things in my closet, but not one of them. I tell you what, you have a little bit of a resemblance of.
Go on.
Do you remember Goonies? There you go.
It's killing me. 30 seconds in, absolutely roasted me. Jesus. Had a drink, have we?
I think he's too much sun. For the reason why me and Jack are still dressed in our attire, and it's currently 8:45 at night, is that we've been stuck at a cricket tournament afternoon. I think we are sun drunk.
Sun drunk, yeah, my goodness. 1 o'clock till what time did we finish? 6?
6, yeah. It was
the inaugural Dubai Sevens Youth Tournament cricket.
Yes. I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about that in our Sporty Week. But yeah, it's been an interesting afternoon, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We'll save that for a second. But yeah, today's show we're going to be talking Premier League. League Cup's been on this week. Interesting thing that's happened, so we'll have a quick discussion about that.
I tell you what, it wasn't the Spurs game. That was not the interesting thing that happened.
No. Well, the big team got knocked out that night.
Here we go.
Fancy football, including the ledge that is Ian Larkin. He's back. So we'll listen to him. A bit about the T20, which has kicked off over here in the UAE. And then an interesting one about school sport, which is obviously picked up from what we've been doing today. So we're going to start with our Sporting Week, but I think it's only fair. Let's start with the cricket with regards to what we've been doing today.
Yeah, so it's part of the inaugural Dubai Sevens. It's part of the inaugural Dubai Sevens cricket, but part of the bigger Emirates Cricket Sevens or Dubai Sevens festival that they have, which we've not had here in Dubai for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Basically, that's based around the World Series of Sevens rugby.
Yeah, for you guys at home, it's what you usually see on Sky Sports.
Yeah. So the big, the pinnacle, I think, of the series. And then as things have gone on over years, that's been added to sort of second, third, fourth, fifth string rugby, hasn't it? School rugby sevens. They've got the netball as well, and it is a cracking week. And I think 2 years ago, actually, we went.
Yes. Kylie
Minogue was entertainment. It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
I mean, Kylie.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And then this year, so it's been 2 years, and this year they've added cricket to it. Yeah. So on the main weekend, which is the first weekend in December, there will be amateur men's cricket and under 19 boys and girls cricket.
Yeah. And the finals from the under 13s, under 15s.
Yeah, which is what we've been in. We took our lads to today.
We've been in the under 13s. Unfortunately, we will not be making the final.
No, we weren't. But it's 7-a-side cricket, 6 overs a side, and there's a special scoring 7 zone because it's sponsored by Zurich. So the Zurich 7 zone. Nobody got it. We came close actually, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we actually hit 4 through it.
Yeah, but if you hit a 6 through this area, you get a 7. But yeah, the boys did okay. It was good fun, wasn't it?
But I think that on the plus side for us as PE staff or for people that enjoy sport was definitely the fact that this was the first ever sporting fixture we've had in nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
It was good 19-20 months ago since we last actually had a sporting fixture on. So it was good to be part of the first thing. All right, the day didn't go quite as was planned. We had a really good laugh. It was good to be back in school sport, and even more so the fact that the last match we'd played 2 at that point and lost 2, and the last match we actually managed to win by 1 run.
On the last ball,
in what can only be described as the best over we'd ever seen from somebody that was a substitute that wasn't going to come on the pitch.
Yeah.
Until Jack made a last minute sub.
Yeah, so one of the sort of, one of the new kind of rules for it is that you can have substitutes, particularly in the junior games, see more people involvement. And because we lost the first 2, we're like, oh, well, those other 2 lads can sit out because they've had a go, we let the other lads, and then got tired, so I made a last minute switch. What a tactical switch it was.
Yes, and it worked in our favour, so we won by 1 run. But yeah, that's been good. What about your own rugby, cricket?
Rugby's not too good, mate.
No.
Yes, very good. So last week who did we play again? Masters Blues, correct. I think last week that we needed to win pretty much both games, and we managed to do that. So the bowlers did their job kept it down to 120, I think, somewhere around that. Superb, all three of them up the top.
Which is good and bad in one way, because we're all anticipating this game this weekend, which is against the Exiles. Boo! But we were hoping there's something resting on it, but it looks like both of you are going to qualify regardless.
Yeah, I think we've both definitely qualified regardless, but I think there's two things resting on it. From our point of view, we obviously want to beat them for obvious reasons, but also, and more importantly than that, I think I explained to you before that this is what they're calling the next stage, the Fab Four, and you take your points with you against the other three teams in your Fab Four. So at the minute, it's us, Titans, Valley Boys, and Masters Blues, and of course we've lost to Titans and not Masters Blues and Exiles. We've lost to I can't speak, can I?
No.
Lost to Valley Boys and Titans, so we need to be.
Yeah, otherwise you'll be rock bottom. We're going into that.
Yeah, I mean, you still can qualify, still do, because we're more than capable of beating all three sides. I've not got any question about that, but obviously you're playing under immense pressure.
Oh yeah, you're playing catch up really.
Yeah, exactly. So still a big game for a number of reasons. So anybody out there in Dubai wants a bit of a. I mean, the big game in Dubai, I reckon, at the weekend, and we'll talk about it in a moment too, is England-Australia.
That's not the
big
game.
It's not though, is it?
No.
It's Dubai Wanderers versus the Exiles.
Yeah, so if anybody's about, get down Saturday morning.
Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock at the Sevens.
Okay.
Free refreshments of all kinds. Charlie Cook.
Beautiful.
Get yourself down, it'll be wonderful.
So
yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Anyway. But yourself? You didn't have a game last week.
No, the strange thing was I thought we were supposed to have a game, but it turns out the other team used their life, so we were supposed to play Dubai FC, which would have been a really interesting game, but we didn't end up playing. So last night we ended up playing our second team in a friendly, internal friendly. They're described as a feisty affair for an internal friendly. Second team were going really well in Division 1, I think, unbeaten. Through sheer luck, they've kept that unbeaten record. Finished 2-2. We went 1-0 up after about 5-6 minutes. We should have been 2-0 up. Centre forwards Mr. Sitter. I think we went 2-0 up, and then they got one back to make it 2-1. And then just bizarrely is that the game's going on, and we're rotating our subs around, they're rotating their subs around, and then they rotated our sub in as their centre forward. I'm like, what's going on here? The other guy decided that he wanted to freshen things up and bring two of our players on for their team.
So you stopped your players?
So he stopped using his own players and started using ours against us. And just so happened the centre forward hit a shot, our goalkeepers parried, and then their lads tapped it in. So we had it. We really, if we count that, we won 3-1. But yeah, ended up finishing 2-2. But it was a good run out, good competition. But the interesting game is next week we play the Turkish team, which is nicknamed Kickers.
Yeah.
And they beat Irish comfortably.
They're the ones who have
4-1.
Gone all right.
Yeah, they're unbeaten at the moment and they're absolutely flying. So our gaffer says they are the best vets team he has seen.
Right.
So next Wednesday it should be an interesting match.
And you've got, what's your unbeaten run?
48 games unbeaten.
And that's league games, yeah?
That's league games. It was 27 wins in a row, but that's obviously true now.
Yeah.
But 48, so I think the idea is to get to 50, but the big test is this Wednesday, so against the Turkish team. So it'll be good, but we don't play football to just turn up, and we don't play sport just to win games by 10, 11 points or 100 and odd points. It's all about playing them competition games or competitive games where you get the chance to showcase your skills against the better players. So it'll be interesting, but he's already told me I'm centre half for that game.
I think you only have word the gaffer.
Well,
he's short of goals.
Yeah, he did say to me the plan is he wants to get me further forward, but we're just having a bit of a centre half crisis. But we played.
No further.
Yeah, we played 2 league games so far, not conceded any goals.
The Schnoz can win a few headers.
Yeah, certainly can. Here you guys! Head the ball away. But yeah, we shall see. But we had a couple of trialists last night.
Did you? Oh, one of them.
No, you weren't. We had a Brazilian guy that claimed he played in the 2nd Division Pro.
In Brazil?
In Brazil.
No, he didn't. No, okay, move on.
Yeah, Thompson quickly moved him on. And we had another lad that said he played non-league. He looked quite a bit tinier player, centre half. So I think the idea is that hopefully he'll come in and pair up with somebody like JC. or Gareth, and then I can get further up the field. But you know what? Quite enjoy centre half. It sounds really bizarre. As JC was watching the game last night, and people don't know JC he's the ex-pro footballer. He came over, gave me a few compliments, which is nice to hear. He was like, it looked like a stroll at the park at the backfield.
Is he injured?
Yeah, he took a bit of a hit. He got a bit of a back injury, but it turns out he's done some real damage. But he had a muscle spasm. So our centre forward needed him in the back, and in turn caused a muscle spasm,
Right.
which he thought was going to be a lot worse than what it actually was. But yeah, so we look forward.
Look forward to that next week. Games then. But you're dead right. Before we move on, you play for those tight games, don't you?
Yeah, all right. Anybody that says you turn up just to win 10, 11-0, they're the people that are probably no good at football or no good at cricket or no good at sport in general because they just want an easy run out.
And it's those, and you even see it in the Prem game. And I talk about some who my dad has had acquaintance with over the time in football, and one or two managers springs. I'll tell you one who springs to mind. He's still in the programme in Gillingham, Steve Evans. He's very much of, if you win, you've played well. If you lose, you played badly.
Yeah.
And he's made a living out of it. Stealing a living, by the way.
I've always said there's different feelings you get from sport. So you could lose a game but play really well, and you come away thinking, oh my God, I can't believe we lost that. And you feel a bit gutted you've lost the game, but you're actually quite happy with your own performance. There's games where you play rubbish but win the game. But for me, it's always that, we didn't really play that well. But there's nothing better than playing well and winning well.
Exactly right.
And then that's the pinnacle for me for a match.
And often, though, when you do that, I think when you do like that, there's two things. You either absolutely wipe the floor of the team because you just... Yeah. And we've done that a couple of times with Wanderers, that against, admittedly, some of the weaker sides in the league, when we've played really well because we're a good side, we've obliterated them. And while you'd rather have a tighter game and win, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you play really well against a really good side. There's nothing better than beating a really good side, knowing as well that they've played well, and you've just beaten. Sometimes, I think you said it to the boys this afternoon, and sometimes you've got to hold your hand up and say, been beaten by the best side, or they're just a bit better than us on that day, or whatever. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah. And you can't do anything about that. Unfortunately, that's what sport's like.
Winning easy every week gets boring for me.
No point. Right, on to talk about winning easy. Leads on to last weekend's Premier League fixtures. So the one that stands out is Chelsea 7, Norwich 0.
Yeah.
We'll quickly talk about the Arsenal 3, Aston Villa 1. Great result for Arsenal. Not so much for you guys because that means they're breathing down your neck now, aren't they? But they were level on points with United before United played their game. Turns out still level on points. But we'll talk about that in more detail in a second. But yeah, Arsenal, despite the rocky start, probably due to the fact they had some hard fixtures, have I wouldn't say turn the corner, but look a little bit steadier.
I think you would say, and while it's probably taking time, and this is probably a lesson, I think we've talked a lot about it before, and I certainly have in conversation with people, it's almost like they're stuck with Arteta, and they can now slowly, let's see, because I know he won the FA Cup in his first year, but it was kind of default, wasn't really his team. He slowly got rid of the ones he doesn't want, like the centre-half and Guendouzi and all those kind of players, slowly bringing... Great to see like Smith Rowe getting some game time, and then I know League Cup he played the second string, but it's just gradually kind of getting his footprint on it.
I really like Smith Rowe. I had him in the beginning of the season for Fantasy Premier League, and I've changed him out, and now he's bagging quite a few points.
He's that player that, and I've spoken to, that Spurs are missing.
Yeah. He's been probably, between him and Kieran Tierney, have been the best two players for Arsenal this year.
Yeah. That kind of... Not the number 10 who's just going to go off the floor, but the one who gets around the park, like Ericsson used to do for us. It was Vanel actually at work. He was an Arsenal fan. I remember going to watch Tottenham Arsenal at Wembley a few years back before it came out here. And Ericsson, if you watched the highlights from match today, even watched the game live on telly, you wouldn't have shown. But when you're there at the game, he was everywhere, and just little dinks here, little dink, taking space, spraying the pass, but at pace.
Yeah.
And then obviously he had the killer passing him and dead balls as well. You know, that's the kind of player that Smith Rowe is, I think, and definitely what Spurs are missing.
Yeah. So we'll quickly brush over Chelsea 7-0. Norwich just not going anywhere fast, are they? 2 silly yellow cards. Once you've been yellow carded, why would you then go and make the challenges made? Really stupid. And then just to rub salt in the wounds, penalty, which was a penalty, but really didn't need to be a penalty, and then gets saved, but because the letter of the law says you have to bring it back, then scores the penalty. So everything that could have gone wrong for Norwich did go wrong. But to be fair, Chelsea scoring 7 goals with no strikers is not a mean feat.
The weird thing is with Norwich is they're still not completely adrift.
Yeah.
And they're only about a foot. I know that results and form would say you're talking rubbish, but they're not.
No,
that far
and it's
adrift.
simply because everybody above them is drawing games. And then we talk about that. Palace won, Newcastle won.
Yeah.
Not really much to really talk about in that game, but the interesting one at the 3 o'clocks was Everton 2, Watford 5. Considering at one point Everton were 2-1 up, with around about 15, 16 minutes to go, and then to lose the game 5-2, that's a complete capitulation. Which you look to the week before where Watford got spanked 5-0 at Liverpool, and people were turning around saying that's one of the worst teams ever been in the Premiership, and then they go to Everton 2-1 down when it could have easily gone wrong for them.
Yeah. I mean,
and then end up winning the game 5-2.
Probably Ranieri's had another week with them, so I know last week I was sort of having a bit of a rant about age and stuff like that, but he's obviously still got a bit about him. But doesn't surprise. Let me rephrase that. The result of 5-2 against Watford home does surprise me, but doesn't surprise me that Everton, the people are getting carried away a little bit early on in the season when all the Benitez effect. And, well, you tell me one player in Everton's side that the top 6 would have.
Pickford.
Yes, the goalkeeper. I'd have him at Spurs.
You said top 6.
Yeah, right, you know what I mean.
When you see, you know what I mean. You're not even in the top 6. You're not in top 6 for a while. Anyway, we'll move quickly on. But yeah,
it doesn't surprise me. Everton, I don't think they're a great side.
No, but Everton have tradition of starting well and then falling apart.
Do you know what he'll do? Just shut up shop now, won't he?
Possibly.
This Saturday, whoever they've got, they'll just shut up shop.
Leeds won, Wolves won. Again, probably a slightly predictable scoreline considering the state of both teams at the moment. Southampton 2, Burnley 2. I think Southampton would have had that as an earmark 3 points.
Yeah,
Burnley will be happy that they've come away with something. I didn't expect this score. I expected City to win, but not 4-1.
Yeah, I did watch that game, particularly the second half, when first half Brighton looked like they'd sort of rabbit in headlights, frozen a little bit, and Man City were dominating. And to be fair, second half they come out and had a go, and it finished 4-1, but at one point he thought, they might get themselves back in this, but Foden was pretty good.
Foden as a non-number 9 is having an absolute worldie of a season. But again, why do you put Man City players in the fantasy football team? Because he could then just sit out for the next 3 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then moving on to Sunday, which was the big games. Leicester beating Brentford 2-1. Considering Brentford have not lost at home to any of the decent teams, that's a good 3 points.
And Leicester just sort of looked like they turned the corner because they had a bit of a rocky start with 2 big win against Man United, and then that away it looks like they've. But you see Vardy scoring goals, and even at his age and the fact that people say he's a one-trick pony, if he's on fire, they're a different outfit, aren't they?
Harvey Barnes looked decent as well.
Yeah, I rate him. I'm obviously a friend of the show.
Yeah, loosely.
Look, he gave us his white wine, his Pinot Grigio. Him and his missus gave to me and you.
Yes, that is
correct. You know what she said to us? Your teachers. I really admire teachers.
I don't remember that.
Definitely, I do.
Yeah,
for just because of the words she said.
Okay. I'm sure you're looking into her eyes with you, Jack.
Right. See it past my snores.
Yeah. And then West Ham 1, Spurs 0. A bit of a not really a non-event game, was it? It was a little bit of chess, not really either team looking like they're going to win it, and then the big man steps up. Yeah,
just got headed. Poor defending again from the near post and then nipped in the front of Kane to poke home, one of those things. But Spurs that's just that performance, and I said a bit earlier that, I watched the first half against Burnley last night. I don't know what it is. There's just something missing. I just can't put my finger on it. Other than, I think I'm being proven right that some of those squad players aren't good enough to be where Spurs fans want them in the top 6. The likes of Bergwijn and Moore, to be fair, had a decent half when he came on yesterday. But Moore, generally, I think Dele, I think as much as it pains me to say, I think he needs to move on to try and reignite. I think he can play. I think he can play still, but
I think Liverpool will take a punt on him.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what, he moves on in January. Wherever he goes, he'll be back in the England squad. I just think he needs a reboot fresh. our midfield players have got no creativity. The players, I mean, the one lad who has looked, the centre half looks decent coming in, and obviously Kane's just not firing, and he just looks a bit tired, a bit sluggish, and a bit peed off, quite frankly.
Yeah, let's just stop talking about Spurs. We need to talk about this.
And we're going to talk about cricket now.
Yeah, we are not. Manchester United. We said 0. All right. And then what's that? Liverpool.
Zilch.
5.
In fact, I'm not a massive Liverpool fan, but this is a great result. Seeing Man getting smashed at home. Whenever he was going, they're not in good form, but I can see him doing Liverpool on Sunday.
What, how good were Liverpool? All right, yeah. There's going to be elements of this when we talk about it. United's defence was leaky and shocking, but Liverpool just hit so quick, so fast, and were so ruthless that before United even realised the ball was in the back of the net.
I think that was it. I was actually doing the quiz on Sunday night, so I could hear the score, so I kept going over and looking at the Irish Village big screen, and it was like relentless for that. I'm like, what's going on here? And I think you're right. That, even not watching, you thought, well, they've just not let them get into the game yet.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I know the people are talking about some of the goals, but the one goal that really, really stood out for me is Henderson pinching the ball off Pogba in the middle of the park, outside the right foot ball, across 2 United defenders for Salah, takes a couple of touches and just slots it past the keeper. The pass is so good that if it was somebody like Messi or Ronaldo doing it, we'd be talking about it for ages. Yeah. But because it's an Englishman that's not in that spotlight
and not lauded for his creativity,
and it's not really. But because I've watched it so many times, and when you watch it in certain angles where he literally pitches the ball and he just literally breaks with the ball, turns, looks out the corner of his eye, and then just goes whiz with the outside of the foot and just curls it perfectly round. Didn't even have to break stride. Salah maybe goes a little bit wider, but for a first time pass with no breaking from somebody quickly is up there with one of the best passes I've seen in the Premiership. And I know Pogba's got it in his locker and he will spray one 50, 60 yards. But to do that so quickly and to be so precise is
great. And of course, Salah hat-trick is clearly, he's got to be the best player in the world at the moment.
Yeah, I think, because we were talking about the Ballon d'Or in the office, and I was like, Salah, but Ballon d'Or's based on what happened last season.
Yeah,
so if you talk about it this year, there's not even a competition. There's nothing talked about. Lewandowski wins it for this previous 12 months.
Yeah.
For me, but at the moment, there's nobody anywhere near Salah's.
Ballon d'Or's interesting conversation, which I'll put in next week because it's just an interesting conversation.
Yeah, but I did listen to Graham Souness absolutely slating United and the fact that they bought
Sancho,
Ronaldo, and he doesn't offer any defensive cover for the team, because he will not track back, he will not put pressure on, and he's saying that potentially leaves gaps everywhere. But the argument is Gary Neville quite rightly said, is that United aren't a Liverpool, are not a City where they push and press high. They just have never been that. But it was interesting to say, but then what does that, and somebody sent me a message saying, is it really a good marker for kids coming through that are at United to go, oh well, if you've got a bit of ability you don't really need to try hard? Because that's always probably been my little thing between Ronaldo's ability and Messi's ability, is that I think that Messi works a little bit harder for the team.
I agree with you, and that's why I've always, if somebody's ever pinned me down and said better, I like because of his attitude. From what you see, it's slightly better. I had a friend of mine's a Man United fan, and I said at the time that why on earth have you've pestered Sancho for 2 years to sign him? You get him, fair enough. Jury's out on him still for me, as we've discussed before. Then Ronaldo comes available or whatever's gone on. I mean, the rumour is that he's manufactured the move himself, that City were never interested, that his agents put that out there because he knew that there's no way that Man United would let him go there. Now, believe that what you are, but he's dead right, because not only has he played, you pick him, he's got to play, because look what happened when he did leave him on the bench for, I don't think you leave him on the bench, but, Solskjaer probably said to rest or whatever. But the problem is, he has to play him because he gets such criticism, and then it's messed up everything else, hasn't it? There you go, because all of a sudden he did. To be fair, you'd seen a little bit of what I think Paul Pogba could be, or is actually, but now he's playing in a weird position if he plays, and that sending off on the weekend is pure frustration on the back of not playing where he'd been starting to play well, losing his position in the side, and then of course obviously come on another 4-0, 5-0 down, whatever. Keep Ollie at the wheel, I say.
Yeah, but
Great decision.
I tell you what made me laugh is that they run about let Salah get his. There's a little meme that shows Klopp in the change room. It says, "Let Salah get his hat trick," and then don't score anymore because we want to keep Ollie at the wheel. But generally, after that sending off, Liverpool did not look. Liverpool could have made a statement. I know that's a big statement, but Liverpool go there and score 7 like Chelsea have done, or 8. Wowzers!
Yeah.
That is.
Well, I think that's what Carragher was aiming for. So I saw his
and
commentary.
it was almost like when they went there, maybe United maybe went a little bit more defensive and went, we can't go any more than 5. And Liverpool did then just kind of, maybe it might be professional courtesy, have just kind of eased off and just got.
Yeah, and also I think they've got all the got so many games in the coming months that maybe it's just an opportunity that you never thought you'd have to ease off for half an hour at Old Trafford in a Premier League game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Right, before we move on to this weekend's fixtures, there is actually League Cup games going on this week, which threw up a few shocks. And we'll start with the Tuesday night fixtures. I've even got like Slovakian women on here, women's World Cup qualifying. Right, so Arsenal were at home to Leeds, but won 2-0. It's a comfortable result for them. Chelsea scraped through on penalties against Southampton, which, considering the state Chelsea are in, surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, because they still played a reasonably strong side.
But they did go with a really young back 3. The 3 were Chalobah, Sarr, and Reece James. Was one of the centre-halves.
But do you not play there for England in one of the games in Euros or prior to it?
I don't know. But yeah, it was a young back line. QPR lost to Sunderland on penalties, and then last night, itchy eye, apologise. So Spurs go to Burnley, which was a shock result, and win again. Big knock for Burnley. Would have thought they had fancy chances.
I watched 45 minutes. It was absolutely dire.
Oh, well, I wouldn't even have wasted my time. Leicester beat Brighton on penalties, and I think Leicester could have done without going to penalties, especially if you're thinking they want to keep that run going. Brighton probably could have done with the same, simply because they've got Liverpool at the weekend.
Yeah, but both would be. I mean, obviously Brighton have got the one gone out. Both would be disappointed not to go through because, particularly other results and the way that the other team might treat it.
Yeah. Well, Well, talking about the way teams treat it, is you've got Preston North End 0, Liverpool 2. Liverpool's lineup was the back 4 wasn't too bad because you had Nico Williams in there, Gomez, Matip, and
Tsimikas.
Druggy. At left back. Adrian played in nets, so that's a strong back 5. And then it was a couple of young pups dotted around. So Curtis played, Ox played, and there was a young pup in there, young pup on the right, Minamino on the left, and Amiga up front. So it's not the worst team, but to go to a championship team, it's a bit of a risk, that.
And a good scorpion finish from Amiga.
Yeah, so I've not seen it, but I've heard about it. But 2-0. But according to, so I got a few messages, obviously being at Preston.
I was going to say, you would have gone there if you were at home.
Yeah, I was there last time Liverpool were at Preston, and called in a few favours to get tickets for that one. But Preston supposedly missed a good few chances, could have been 2-0 up at half time. But then my reply to the Preston fan my nephew, was that's probably the difference. Is that if you are a good team and you're going to be looking at things, you punish teams when you're on top. And Preston obviously.
Because then Liverpool got to chase the game, because there's no way they're going there to lose.
No.
But
I believe Klopp was fuming at half time. Much better second half performance, won the game.
Very good, very good.
Stoke 1, Brentford 2, so Brentford will be happy with that.
Good result for that.
Tony got, I don't know if he got both, we got assist for one.
I'm going to say, from what I could see, he played his first choice team, didn't he, just about? Because he might fancy that on the quiet, mightn't he?
Well, nothing wrong with the trip to Wembley, is there?
No.
And then probably the biggest shock of the night is, was it 3-time winners?
Been to finals 5 times, 5 years.
5 years. Man City end up losing to West Ham on penalties.
I'm pretty sure they won it 5 years on the bounce.
Phil Foden missed the first pen.
Did he?
Nobody else missed after that point. So Phil Foden cost them the cup last night.
There we go.
So Phil Foden is now not going to ever play again.
Quarter final draw is on Soccer AM on Saturday morning, I believe.
Was it? They must have gone up in the rankings because they only used to do the Scottish one on there, didn't they?
Yeah, they
wangled that one.
Yeah.
Right.
So Tottenham just need to avoid Arsenal, I think, and Liverpool.
United, that's the one. Was it all the
No,
games?
they've got the against us.
Okay. Brentford, you'd fancy Brentford, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Brentford at home.
QPR? Oh, Sunderland.
Sunderland
would be good.
Sunderland at home, that's what we need.
Yeah, still lose
Scrape
that.
1-0.
Right, so this weekend, interesting fixtures. We've got Leicester versus Arsenal start us off. That's interesting to see where Arsenal are currently at.
Yeah. It'll be a good game now.
Yeah, with Leicester doing so well, and Arsenal obviously had a keen interest about it at one point. Burnley-Brentford, which again, I think that poises to be a potentially interesting game. Burnley physicality at home will be thinking we need 3 points.
They've got to go physical.
And Brentford, probably just for the pure tenacity, might just ruffle a few.
I've said before, I'm pretty sure Burnley, this is the year.
Right, well, we'll see. Brighton will be thinking, let's get this 2-week patch over with.
Yeah.
City 1 week, Liverpool the week after. And let's be honest, if there's 2 teams you really, 3 teams you want to avoid at the moment, it's Liverpool, Chelsea, City.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Brighton, they've got to go to Anfield. Which Brighton in the past have always done okay against Liverpool, but I think the fan factor is going to...
Yeah, it'd be a nice game. It'd be a good game to watch.
Yeah. And then City at home to Crystal Palace, and again, Crystal Palace doing better than expected.
Yeah, Vieira's
added a bit of stealth, and for the first time dropped Zaha last
yeah,
week.
and considering that they only had, I think we said before,
that
11
players,
players or
yeah.
something.
They got rid of so many.
Yeah.
So he's done a decent job at the moment. Newcastle will not be looking forward to hosting Chelsea.
No,
and
manager still.
And again, Chelsea will be literally thinking, thank goodness we're getting them this side of the transfer window.
Yeah.
Everybody will be wanting to play them before Jan starts and see what happens. Watford at home to Southampton is the last of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Then we've got a tiny little game on the evening time with 2 teams not in form. Spurs against Manchester
Thankfully,
United.
I'm at the cricket, so I won't get to watch that. I just don't know. Honestly, at the minute, I've got to think as a Spurs fan, at some point, something's got to click. Because I know the narrative's all around Kane, he scored 1 Premiership goal and not been his best. So there's no doubt about that. I'm not denying that. But everybody else has been pretty ordinary. Son's not. Has been pretty ordinary. And again, a little bit like we said, I think a couple of weeks ago about if Sterling, Kane aren't form for England, we look a bit toothless. There's nothing. It's exacerbated even more with Spurs. Those 2 aren't on it. We look toothless, and I mean, anything can happen. You'd think there's no better time to play Man United.
You would, but will now you get the buyback of what's happened?
I don't think Ollie's got that in him to get the bite back.
Oh, that will be interesting.
I don't think he's got the kahunas.
Yeah, well, a lot of people say that. And then just to finish off the weekend's fixtures, Sunday, Norwich versus
Come on,
Leeds.
Norwich, get some points.
Yeah, Leeds desperately need them. And then you got, can only be described as the worst coloured kits clash in the Premiership.
The Claret and Blues.
Claret and Blue versus Claret and Blue. So it's Villa versus West Ham.
And if my old man's listening, he'll go, there was another team that played in Claret and Blue.
It's Burnley.
Curtin School old boys.
All right, I was going to think about Burnley.
Yeah, Burnley.
And then on Monday night, that means the clocks have gone back. Look at the time. Clocks must change this weekend. So for you at home, you'll be like, oh yeah, clocks have changed. For us, it's the worst thing that could possibly happen.
This is why Spurs are in the Conference League, because it's a Thursday night, so it's the weekend. That's why they did it for me. They didn't want me staying up for Champions League football on at midnight kick-off on a Tuesday, Wednesday night.
So according to my profile in front of me here, it's got Wolves versus Everton at midnight on Tuesday, which is Monday midnight, which obviously then classes as Tuesday.
That means when you've got when the Champions League games are on, Stu will be having a power nap and then getting back up.
Yeah, that is the plan.
Because we have to be up at, what time are you up? I'm up at about 4:45.
5.
Yeah, 4:45, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Short night that.
It is. Right, okay. So what's happened this week in T20?
Brilliant.
So your prediction at the start was India are the best team in the world and will win the T20.
Yeah.
And then they got spanked off Pakistan.
Yeah, I still think they'll probably win it.
Ooh.
I still think they'll be there or thereabouts.
But they didn't just get like.
Oh
just
no,
they
Pakistan were absolutely
took them to
brilliant.
town, didn't
Yeah,
they?
10-wicket victory.
Did you say Pakistan were like really weak and poor?
No, I said they could be dangerous. They are dangerous. I did read that. And then they won again the other night as well, beat New Zealand and Sharjah. So they've started.
Who have India got their next game? Because they've got New Zealand in their group, haven't they?
Yeah, it's the India-New Zealand thing.
Right, because that's a big game.
Basically, because they're in the easy group, it's 2 from those 3.
Right.
and then obviously England in the other group, but who have started really well. I was there Saturday night.
Yeah.
Great victory. Very excited to get there. Like particularly after we won the game, we all went there as a team, which was really good. And like the atmosphere was pretty decent. I mean, it's not obviously it's COVID full, let's say, but it looked quite empty still. But it got going. But the game itself, from a neutral's point of view, from somebody like we talked to, you want to watch a good game, don't you? Never got going because England just. What I would say is that England looked so good in the field with the ball. Morgan looked, as a captain, just looked in complete and utter control, and I think that again happened again at the week yesterday was it?
Yeah.
Yesterday when they beat thrashed Bangladesh. So yeah, England have looked strong, started 2 from 2, so they're the two form sides. But in tournament sport, you don't want to peak too early, do you?
Yeah. Well, you'll be looking now, 3rd, 4th, 5th game. Who's looking sharp, but.
Yeah.
Like I said, I happened to walk into a bar because I met a lad from back home here to watch the Liverpool game. But before that, or whilst that game was going on, it was a Pakistan and India game, and they're basically taking over the main room, which sounds really bizarre, is because back home, if you're in England, the number 1 game is going to be Liverpool United.
Yeah.
We were kind of put to a side TV.
Magnificent.
In another area, and we could tell every time Pakistan either got a wicket or a boundary.
Did you see all the footage from? I think on Instagram I think it's Loving Dubai or that thing there, all the streets in like in Dubai and all that, look just full of Pakistani fans just celebrating, beating the horns, Afridi all over there, like the worker vans and that. It's unbelievable. So they're the two form teams. You can't see either of them not getting to the semi-finals now. So it'll be a case of India form 1 and Sri Lanka have actually hit a bit of form. I don't know how they're going against Australia as we speak, but. England, Australia is a big game Saturday, and I'll be there.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah.
Which is a prelude to the Ashes. And of course, England had some good news on that front this week as well.
Well, I was going to say to you before we move on to about the good news about it is I don't know what I was going to say now. Just completely gone. Yeah. Whatever.
Stokes. You expect Stokes? No.
No, it was to do with England Australia, but yeah.
England should win. If that's what you're talking.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah,
that's how exciting cricket is. I just had a cricket moment.
Just switched off.
Just somebody said
slagging me off all the time. Criticising the Spurs. Switching off when we talk about cricket.
So let's talk about the Ashes. What's the good news?
Ben Stokes will be on the play.
That's good news, not just for cricket, but for him generally with regards to mental health.
Yeah, his fitness, his mental health. Yeah, and that makes such a big difference to England. It straight away balances the side out so much better. Root will be buoyed by it. The rest of the team will be buoyed by it. No doubt about that. So, fingers crossed he carries on his rehabilitation, his fitness, and he actually gets on that plane, and we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, looking forward
to that. But really good news there.
Yeah, right. Okay, so move on to what I was going to ask you. We'll keep this short and sweet because this might not impact on a great deal of people, and I'm obviously conscious of time. Was school sport.
Yeah, and I suppose you could say youth sport in general as well.
Yeah, youth sport in general. Well, no, I'll stick with school sport just simply because we've been at cricket today. Okay. Just to give people an oversight, we went to cricket today, and we can only describe it as one team turned up with what was supposed to be an under-13s team. I actually saw one of them drive the bus into the car park.
I didn't want to put you into this.
When he dropped the rest of the team off, I saw one of them drop his kids off at the crash on the way through. But it did make us question was the legitimacy of some of the ages of the children.
Yeah.
Considering, if anybody follows James WSL Sport, if you have a look at the coin toss picture, it is phenomenal. You've literally got our captain, who's in year 8, who is 12 years old.
He's quite small year 8.
He's a small year 8. What can only be described as a lad that is touching 6 foot or just under 6 foot.
I mean, I said when we were watching it from there, when he went out to bat, he looks like a man batter. Yeah. He looked like a man batter.
Yeah, and he was supposedly under 13. I said that with inverted comments for people that are listening on the podcast, not watching us. But yeah, it was, which then made us think, and it was a question I was going to ask Jack, is that do school teachers take school sport too seriously? And is it about participation or is it about winning?
I think if you were to pin me down, I had to choose one or the other. I think, and this comes from obviously I'm a teacher and a sports person, I'm a coach, and I obviously help out sports departments. So you might disagree with me, but I think it's got to come down to participation for a number of different reasons. So because a lot of, and particularly what probably from schools that we both taught at back in England, is that it's probably the only time that some of these students, these children, get a chance to play the sport that they love, or they really might not be really good at it, but they really love, because for a number of different reasons, social, economic reasons. And I also think that it's an opportunity for them to get some healthy well-being and fitness into them, which again, teenagers or young people around the world don't seem to want to do as much, and we see that a lot here, don't we?
Yeah.
With sort of certain cultures and certain lifestyles that the families lead. And also, like today, I think we said on the bus on the way back, didn't go quite as we would hoped or thought, but what an experience for the lads. And I said to them in the dressing room afterwards that actually they've played 3 games of cricket, have spent 4 hours on cricket ovals in dressing rooms that last week England were in, practicing. The IPL, the Rajasthan Royals, I saw Virat Kohli arrive at the Sevens after one of our games to train, and their eyes light up. So I think it's all about participation for me. Other than, I do always think that you've still got to go in with the aim of winning.
Yeah.
Because that breeds team spirit, that breeds a drive, a goal. If you don't just accept that we're here to take part, we're here to participate, but we're also here to try and win as well.
I'm glad you said that, because I about threw you under the bus.
Yeah.
Because you were all about participation. I was going to go, well, why did you make that substitute on that last over?
Yeah.
But you kind of bailed yourself out with the fact that element needs to still be, there needs to be an element of competitiveness.
Yeah.
But I think what needs to happen is that, and this doesn't happen a lot, especially when I've seen it in school sport, is learn to win correctly.
Yes.
And then also learn to lose correctly.
Correct.
And what happens is, I think there's so much of a burden, and I don't understand it on a school sport participation, because yes, I enjoy playing school sport, but my mainstay was my weekend football. That's where matters lied. It was how you did in the league, it's how you did in the cup, how you did in this and this. School sport was, if you were lucky, you might have got to play the final at a certain place, but that wasn't guaranteed. It was down to one-off games. But there is such, I think some PE teachers, maybe staff members, then try and relive their failed dreams through their teams. And we've witnessed it in the past over here, especially in, and we're not going to name schools because that would be wrong with us, but in cricket, where the rules are severely bent. The worst one I saw was the guy that organised the league competition, or this cup competition, actually employed the umpires. And then during the game was leg umpiring, and we were having a really good stint with the bat, and he actually brought them in to have a chat with them whilst he was leg umpiring.
Square legging.
And I just literally just said to the umpire, I was like, he shouldn't be doing that. And the umpire was like, you're right. I was like, so you need to go and speak to him.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked at me, and I think he kind of then got caught between, this guy's paying my wage, and I should really be holding up the values. And that's the problem, is upholding the values. And there was something that was talked about today when we went to the cricket, is play with the right values of sport. Play fair, play properly, play competitively.
Fairly, you can be competitive.
Go to win. Nobody turns up to lose. Okay, if you lose, then you lose it in the right way. One lad that we saw today, when they lost, threw his bat. Launched his bat, and you're like, that was very stereotypical of that school. And it's very much what's bred within that area. Game I played last night, very much in the manager's mould, complaining, whinging and mourning for everything. And even the point where the manager actually came on, and this is really bizarre, was actually telling the lad, you were offside. He's like, no, I wasn't. He's like, I could see you're offside. He was telling his own players, but because he'd done that so much about convinced that this was the way he does football, that you can see how that breeds in. And then the kids end up being a reflection of you.
Absolutely. And I think, just to finish off, maybe, I think that's our university group, Ross put on about an article yesterday about all statistics, there was a list of scenarios actually that happened in youth sport. I think he's involved in winning his lads' football team, and I think even he as a manager has had issues with parents and that, because again, Ross will definitely play to win. I mean, he's definitely one of them. But at the same time, he's been rotating players, and I think he's had a bit of grief from it. I know Steve on the same group, his lad down in London, he's taken him out of the football team not because he's not getting a game or anything like that, because he's fed up, I've stood on the side, and his son listening to the other team, to his own team's parents, whinging and moaning.
Yeah.
I think there's such high stakes, or they think there's such high stakes. If my kid can kick the ball straight, he's going to be a pro footballer.
Yeah.
That it just goes beyond that.
Yeah.
Participation, always play to win or to do your very best.
Yeah.
Because that's what you should do in life in general. Is in my opinion, whatever we do.
Yeah. Which actually leads really nicely onto you and fantasy football. Apart from the winning side of it.
Yeah, I'm trying my best though. I'm participating.
You are participating. But what we'll do is, do you want to start with Larko, because he's another participant? Because he's also having, we call him our guru, but he's also having an absolute shocking start to season.
I can find him.
Well, do you want me to announce this week's winner?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we announced the monthly winner, we actually got a video back, didn't we? From AJ.
Yeah, we did.
Or as we known in Dubai, Mr. Brunch of Mr. and Mrs. Brunch sent us a video back, and he was rubbing it in Gwyn's face that he'd won, and he was giving him a lot of jip. Well, Gwyn, this is your chance for revenge, my friend. You are the weekly winner, smashing with 113 points, which is a great time to score that, because this weekend will result in the monthly winner.
Of course,
so he will be sitting pretty.
And he's sitting top of the league anyway, isn't he?
Yeah. So for Gwyn, that has set him up nicely, leading into this weekend. And let me have a quick look while we just find Larko's for the current monthly position.
But you can go for the month.
Which puts Gwyn currently in 7th place, 18 points behind Mark Burtonwood, who's on 224.
With the originally named Burtonwood
FC. But you would say that anybody from maybe 10th place could potentially win this, or even Rob.
I can't believe that. I hope he don't win.
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron, yes, ITs. Yeah, let's not hope you win. So we'd have to say that. But yeah, Gwyn could actually exact revenge and do the video back on AJ this week. But furthermore, we'll leave Larko to finish us off.
Alright lads, old Larko back here with your fantasy hot jam. So, forgive the sound quality first of all, Stuart Jack. I'm just in a tactics truck. I'm dropping in and out of a Wi-Fi signal in Spinney's car park, doing my recon on a few players. So, it was a very big week last week in terms of football. Main talking points, obviously, I'm sure you boys have discussed it, is what happened at Old Trafford. Now, that has a direct impact on your fantasy team, because you can look at it two ways. Are United on a downward spiral, or are they going to pull themselves out of this? Are they going to bounce back? What is their bounce back ability like? So, do you get rid of United players? Do you keep them? For me personally, Ronaldo stays. Okay, he's too good of a golden goose not to lay an egg. Luke Shaw, though, a lot of promise at the start of the season going forward. But United are absolutely as loose as you like at the back. So, for me, attacking players in United, keep them in, and defenders, get rid. Now, it's time to start taking the boys from West London, from the King's Road, seriously, isn't it? Chelsea boys, they are in with more than a shout this season, aren't they? Okay, 7 over the weekend. Those of you at Mason Mount, the team, any of their players, absolute jam for you boys. So for me, made a few subs this week. I've got to tip my hat to the boy Chalobah. He's unbelievable value at around 4.6, 4.7 million. Okay, Chelsea, they keep their sheets cleaner than Doc Cotton from Albert Square. So for me, any Chelsea defenders, especially boy Chile, if you've got the cash, he's worth a solid investment. Also, big shout out to all of you who followed my advice. I wish I followed my own advice. Your boy Wang, I know we've got a lot of fans for Wang, for Watford in this team. So yeah, keep on gunning up there, big Wang, and doing it for you lads. Right, that's me over and out, lads. Staying humble. Best start this week. You would have seen that I'm crawling up the table ever so slowly. Most out of the captain. Over and out.
I'd say what's interesting is two things. One, Huang doesn't play for Watford, he plays for Wolves. And putting what was it? United players in your fantasy football team. Spurs this week. City next week.
Yeah.
He's clearly not. He needs to have a look at his tactics board, my friend.
You need to get that Wi-Fi sorted in spinners.
Yeah.
But that's it, Stu. Because at the end of the day,
What do we know?